In this video, I talk about three things. Why do we need constants? How do we declare a constant? And the naming convention for constants. So let's start out with an example and I demonstrate why we need constants. So let's say we have some calculation. Let's say we have an amount of 19.99% and we want to compute the total. And the total is the amount times the tax rate. And so let's say we have this a lot in our program. There's another amount that costs this time, let's say $25. And again, we call the total 2 amount times 0.075%. And you can imagine there are a lot of calculations that rely on the tax rate here. And the tax rate I have hard coded with a literal. So in this case, I have 2 statements that rely on the tax rate, but I may have 100 statements or 50 statements, 20 statements, a lot of statements. So if I ever want to change my program in the future and this tax rate changes, I would have to go search through it or search replace and change all of them. So this is not ideal. What I would want to have is declare this as a variable, and then if I declare it as a variable here, tax rate 0.075, and instead of the hard-coded literals, I use the tax rate. I have a single place here to change it. So if the tax rate goes up, I just go here. Now we have 8.5%. That is one reason to do it. The other reason why we want to extract this into a variable and later a constant is that when we have the same hard-coded literal many times in our program, it's very easy to make a mistake. So for example, I might type it in here 0.075 and here 0.75. Nothing will complain about this mistake, and I get wrong calculations. I may not even spot that right away. So by doing it with a variable and using tax rate here, if I have a typo in my variable, the compiler will complain. It will say, this I don't know. So that is the reason why we want to have constants. In this case, I haven't declared it as a constant. And let me actually show you why we want to have a constant. I could now, by accident, maybe I didn't want it, say, oh, from now on it's 0.75% and I change it. Now for constant, we don't want it to change. And the tax rate is unlikely to change throughout the program. So we can prevent this by declaring it as const. And this is how we declare a constant. Just put the const keyword in front. Now if I wanted to change this and I do tax rate 0.9, this would result in an error because the compiler will say this is a constant. It can have only at its initialization a value assigned, and after that the value cannot change. So it will complain. It's a constant value. So this is how we declare. Just put the constant in front and that is it. Now constants, if we have a long program and we have many functions and we use the constant everywhere in our program, instead of redefining it, we can define it as a global variable. We only want to do this with constants. We don't want to do this with variables. So for constants, it's okay to declare them outside of the main if they are used in a lot of functions, because otherwise we would have to redeclare the same one everywhere again. And we go back to the issue that I mentioned earlier here, where we have the same value defined in multiple places. Now that we have the constant, let me move on to the third part, the naming convention. So currently I'm using and following the camel case naming convention, which is good for variables. But for constants, there's typical another naming convention, and this is we only use uppercase words separated by an underscore. So in this case, I have tax rate. So to follow the naming convention for a constant, I do tax, which is one word, then underscore, and then rate. And so I would use this everywhere in my program. And so now I can distinguish just by looking at the program that this is a constant and here I use a variable. So it makes it very clear without going back to the declaration and looking is there a const keyword or not. This kind of helps to see right away while I'm in the middle of the program and program something that I'm dealing with a constant. Okay, this is everything I wanted to say. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.